Guys, we got a lot of 2023 running backs to talk about. So let's get into some trades as always. Our trades are usually based on a 12-team Superflex PPR start 10 1.5 tight end premium. All right, we got to get started with Saquon, of course. Are you going Saquon Barkley or the 104?
Pick.
I would like to pick as well.
Saquon or Drake London and the 204?
You had me at Drake London, bro. I would have stopped at Drake
package.
London. This is one of those I would have instantly accepted it. And then I would have messaged you and been like, I would have just taken Drake London. You didn't even need to throw in the pick. Depending. If we're friends, I wouldn't send that message to you. If we're close friends, I'll probably send that message to you. If I dislike you immensely, I definitely will send that message to you.
So how about in a 1 QB, Saquon or the 104?
Now we get a little more interesting.
I'd lean the pick just for the flexibility over the next 3 months, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a first-round receiver or running back that I'm probably going to like to re-roll on Barkley. So I'm okay taking the pick, but obviously the quarterback's out of the equation. The leverage isn't as high. So I think it's probably 50-50. I know that's hedging my bets, but I'll just say this. I'm interested in acquiring Saquon Barkley if my team fits perfectly. Otherwise, no. So I'd probably just lean the pick for the flexibility in January.
Yeah, and a 1 QB, man, like if I could get like 105, 106, I know it's only one pick, one slot difference, I'd be a lot more comfortable. But that said, if I'm looking at my roster and I go, yeah, this team's pretty good. I think this is going to do really well next year. And a Saquon Barkley is probably going to help me a lot more than a rookie wide receiver. Although who knows, a rookie wide receiver like Chris Olave helped a lot. I could see going Saquon because my own tendencies and biases. I'm probably going to end up going with pick.
So let's hop back over to Superflex. Are you going Saquon and a random 24 first or the 101?
Yeah, it's closer. But I'm going to go the 101. I feel like I have more options with that, and I'm not in a rush. I feel like the other deal I can get at any point, whether it's McCaffrey, Eckler, Barkley, doesn't really matter. I think I can get that pretty much anytime, anywhere. So I'm taking the 101.
Shane, how about you, man? Saquon and a random 24 first or the 101?
101. We're talking Superflex, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that probably doesn't matter because you're taking Bijan under any circumstances. It's not a bad deal. I'll say that if you're trying to split the asset, but it's not the ideal one. Make me feel a little dirty giving up Bijan for that.
What would you take a positional pivot to tight end? Would you go Saquon or George Kittle and the 202?
Saquon. Not really that close.
Yeah, George Kittle had a nice little run at the end there that kind of is going to make me buy back into him, even though I know it's against my best interest. I'm still going to go Saquon there. Look, I can't get back in on Kittle. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it to myself.
All right, so Scott, you mentioned how with Saquon, you are trying to buy him under certain circumstances, like the perfect roster. What does that look like for you?
When like Jamal Williams is my best running back, that type of roster.
Nice.
I think we're at a point. There's going to be so many free agent running backs. There's going to be so many running backs coming in. Why are you in a rush? Literally, the only thing you were giving up by buying a running back now is the opportunity cost of not being able to get a running back later. That's it. Someone comes to you and goes, I'm looking to trade Josh Jacobs or someone like that. Not Saquon. I think a lot of people can kind of say, okay, Saquon has a chance to hit free agency. Wherever he goes, he's going to get paid very well. He's probably a top 5 dynasty running back, no matter how you slice it. There's not going to be 3 rookies that are going to jump ahead of him. There's not going to be 2 or 3 young guys that are just clearly better than him. Like you can easily say, I want Saquon even over Ken Walker or Travis Etienne. Like you could justify it. I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying you could justify it. And there's really only a couple veterans you could even put in that mix. But the point is, I'm not in a rush to buy him. People send me questions all the time. Oh, hey, I'm looking to buy Austin Eckler. Okay, I can get him for a good price. But then I look at their running backs. You also have Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Ramondre Stevenson. Why are you even shopping for running backs? If anything, you should be the one selling them if that's the market. So it's really just about what's my roster look like? Can I not get this deal in July or August? And if I know in my league there's going to be somebody trading a running back then, why am I in a rush to give up 108 or something like that? Okay, I'm going to take that based on the value. But some of the deals we're talking, 103, 104, Just feels like those are going to be the picks you're going to want to control in a couple months versus, oh, cool, I have a running back.
So there's Bijan, there's Breece Hall, Ken Walker, JT, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Saquon. Closest he could be is sixth. So definitely not fifth. Far outside the top five.
I would almost say I'd be willing to put Saquon as my RB2 in Dynasty. I think he's better than every running back other than probably Bijan from a value perspective. He's just older. That's it.
No, I'll tell you what then. Can I trade old man Saquon for Travis Etienne plus then?
You could, potentially. Probably not. I'm just saying that I would be interested in buying him, but it has to be on the right roster. I mean, I'm playing in through a different lens as a lot of people. If they just want to know the pure trade value, if you can get Saquon for the 106, 107, I think that's okay doing it. You got to look at your roster, though, and you go, well, I don't need a fourth running back that I know they're all going to be volatile in the offseason. So I think that's the biggest thing. The price isn't so much versus what type of team you're putting them on.
104 is a lot to pay for a running back, right? It really is. I could sit here and tell you that I'd be comfortable making the deal. I don't know if I could do it then. Like even just because of the flexibility. That's why I don't think he's someone that I'll actually even be looking to buy. Now, if someone wants to take a random 24 first for him, I can convince myself of that because the same way that, we convince ourselves when we're acquiring the 24 first that it's going to be high, I can convince myself that it's going to be low. I'm like Sad. I don't think I'll be doing a lot of the shopping in the Saquon Barkley aisle of the store.
So if you're selling Saquon, in an ideal world, are you trying to tier down, get a Devin Singletary plus a piece, Miles Sanders, who we'll talk about in a minute, and a mid-second for Saquon, something like that? Or is that not enough?
I mean, I think the dream deal is you get pretty much close to his pick value and you get a running back that's potentially usable for your stable of guys that you're just collecting. Like that's the move in January or February. All that's going to change when we get to June. Because some of the guys you could have got in February are going to be either harder or easier to get in June because something else has changed. Running backs get drafted, running backs get signed. So I think right now, if you can trade Saquon for the 104 and get a Devin Singletary thrown in, like that's the type of deal where you look back in June and you go, wow, I actually have like a usable RB2/RB3 on my roster, but I already got paid 100% of the price value with the pick. And then that'll slowly erode. And as we get closer to the season, the level of running backs that you would want back will go up. The number of running backs you would want will start to go down. And the guys that are locked in for major roles, I mean, there is a possibility that Saquon goes and signs with the Bills or the Chiefs or something like, you know what I mean? He just has 2 or 3 mega seasons. And you're going, man, I would have paid the 101 for him. So I think that's where he's a little bit different because he's hitting free agency. Like he could be with the Giants, which we've seen isn't horrible, but there's also like a little bit of a bonus that milks into his value. So
we're going to move on to Josh Jacobs, but if you wouldn't mind looking down, hitting that little thumbs up, give us a like if you're enjoying this content. We'd appreciate it. Easiest way to help out our channel. Guys, Josh Jacobs, are you going Jacobs or the 201?
I will take Jacobs.
Yeah, I think that's again, I say I'd rather do that than buy Barkley.
Yeah.
201 versus 104. Give me the Josh Jacobs deal. Now, if you're moving that to 107, 108, then I'm probably on the Barkley side if I had to pick one. But I think the major issue is, and maybe I haven't seen this yet, people aren't selling a guy like Josh Jacobs for the 201.
What about Jacobs or a 24 first?
Okay. 24 first.
Yeah.
Because guess
that's
what?
A totally different type of deal. That's a fungible 24 first that can be anything. And Jacobs is a running back that really can only be one thing. So, yeah, all day.
Josh Jacobs or Hollywood Brown?
Hollywood.
I like Hollywood, but I almost feel like he's one of the ones that is in the range of like he's in a group of like 15 to 20 receivers that I feel like I can get at any point. Hollywood in a second, but you want to take advantage of the fact that somebody else wants a running back, right? I don't really want to trade a running back for a receiver straight up unless I can get a 2-for-1. Give me Hollywood Brown and, I don't know, Jamal Williams, something like that. Okay, I'm considering that. Yeah, give me another throw-in body, and I'm doing it. Otherwise, on principle, I'm not going to do 1-for-1 deals.
Jacobs or the 207 and a 24 second?
Ooh.
I'll tell you what. That's enough on either side. That again, if I have a roster and I'm looking the next year, I'm collecting running backs, which is one of the things I'm probably going to do in leagues that I think I can compete in. We're collecting older running backs to cycle through all next year. I'd easily give up 2 seconds for Jacobs. 207 and a 24-second feels light. Like, I feel like, you know what? I went through the risk of 2022 already. He got through it healthy. I might as well just take my chances and see if I can hold him till the beginning of the season and flip him for a first. Or, once the season comes, can I get a 24 first for him?
Yeah, the more that I think about it, I think I'm taking the 2 seconds easily just because I'm not taking any risk. There's, 50% chance he doesn't even make it to the season, let alone get to the season and smash like he was and find a sucker in your league that'll give you a first. Like, that feels like the 10% or less outcome.
What do you mean you don't think he gets to the season?
There's a lot that can happen. He can get hurt. He can sign somewhere we don't like. He can sign somewhere that might be good for him that the community hates. Like, there's a big difference between leaning off of his 2022 season, getting to a point, he might even be sitting in a good spot to start 2023. What if he goes out, sprains an ankle in week 1, goes out 30 yards in week 1? His value's cooked. It already was cooked until he had, RB1 overall numbers through 8 weeks. And then it was, and this is, I think we have to remember the past season. What did you hear on Josh Jacobs last year? Well, that's great that you have the RB1 overall through 8 weeks, but guess what? I'm not getting those points because they already happened. I don't really want to pay for the future because I don't believe in it. Like, that's what it feels like.
Well, you should believe in the future because it's going to happen. I mean, it just is. It's
except for 2025.
That's how time works.
Give me the 2 seconds, and I feel like I can wait until week 3 and I can buy next year's version of Josh Jacobs and at least take the same risk then. And I have 7 more months of information in front of me. That's just not the deal you make in January. So I'm with you to wait. It's just buy him because you're setting your lineup now.
No, but I mean, what are we waiting for? Is Josh Jacobs going to get injured between now and the regular season? I mean, he's technically at no more risk than any other player. So if you use
him getting injured, no. His perception, his value, his demand, all of that can get injured by false narratives that the community creates.
But if I'm trading for him, I don't really care about what his perception in the community is going to be. Whatever landing spot he ends up in, someone's going to have a problem with. Half. We already know how our community is. Half of the community will say that's a great landing spot for him. I love it. And the other half will tell you why it's an awful landing spot. And it's going to be Jacobs' play that determines that. And if we just go off of what he did this year and quite frankly the year before that, then he's going to be, no matter where he lands, he's going to be the bell cow there.
Real quick, when we're looking at like 207, when I say 207, where does your head go in terms of if you were on the clock and you were actually going to make that pick, you weren't going to trade it in another trade, where does your head go? Are you thinking you'd probably be taking RB there? We'd like to take a lot of running backs in the second round. Is that where your head goes? This deep RB class, you're going to take a body there?
Yeah, it's Zamir White, Brian Robinson, those types. Probably better, probably more options because there's going to be quarterbacks that push those picks down a little bit. But that's basically what you're going to be getting. And you may look at some of those names and go, wow, I could get Isaiah Spiller. Oof, that's not a great pick. But the point is, they're going to be there. It's just a matter of like, what does the community think? What do the tiers look like when you get there? But I'm pretty confident there's going to be 3 or 4 running backs with decent draft capital.
For me, it's the same poisons every time. It's running backs and tight ends. There's going to be some athletic tight end that popped during the senior week that I'm going to fall in love with. So it's either going to be him, whatever his name is, we'll call him tight end X, or running backs. And the running backs won't even matter. Their names won't matter. We talk ourselves into running back situations all the time and think we know what's going to happen. Like, we happen to be right on Dameon Pierce this year, but a lot of times the community will build a narrative of why someone's going to take over. Like Zamir White was going to take over for Josh Jacobs, and everyone loved that landing spot, and then it was just absolutely awful.
So we're going to move over to David Montgomery, but before we do that, I was wondering if I should ask them to subscribe. Should I ask the people to subscribe? Nah, that's a little bit too salesy. David Montgomery or Brandon Ayuk and 206
package.
Yeah, that's how you can the pick pretty easily.
David Montgomery or 2 seconds
package.
How late? Let's give some actual numbers.
Let's give some numbers.
207 and the 212 or David Montgomery.
No, so it's going to be the 209 and a 24 second for David Montgomery.
Easy.
Still package for you.
He's close to worth a second. So if you're giving me 2 of them, I don't even care where it is. To me, the 204 and the 212 are all the same because people are going to have their biases on who they're going to take. And Last year, if you literally just went against the ones everybody else liked, you got the better players. Everyone wanted Samir White. Everyone wanted Isaiah Spiller. If you just went the other way, took the ones nobody wanted, you ended up just the same or better. So I think that range is just going to be a lot of bias. So I think you just take a body there.
4 running back week ones. That's worth less than a second to you. Just curious.
I look at David Montgomery. He's like career RB 16, 17 for his career. He averages like 13.4 points per game for his career. I'm not paying for that. I can find that on the waiver wire. I can build that with volume. I understand he's going to probably step somewhere where he's getting more touches. He's basically like Deontay Foreman, but he's probably more reliable. He's probably a little bit better. He's probably a guy that the team is going to see in a role where they're going to try to give him that many touches. I'm just not paying for it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, here, I was just being devil's advocate there because I'm taking the picks. But yeah, I don't know that he's going to step into a situation where he's going to see more touches because he wasn't really an efficient receiver or a running back. So if you sign him, I can't imagine you're looking at him and going, yeah, this is the guy we want to get the ball in the hands of 350 times. I think it's more likely this is our first and second down guy. And we're never going to throw the ball to him, just like when Tariq Cohen was still a viable option in Chicago.
I think that's a really viable point that Shane makes. The idea of taking over the backfield, the reality is there's probably 2 guys in this class that are ever going to get more than 300 touches in a season. The guys that are going to get the most touches in the NFL next year? Probably Joe Mixon, Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, the same guys over and over and over until they can't anymore. So I guess if you take that logic, you can buy into Josh Jacobs or David Montgomery, but it's few and far between that those guys get created out of nowhere.
What about Khalil Herbert, real quick, since we're talking about Monty? People think he's going to be the new workhorse there. Not going to happen, right? The likelihood of that happening is very low.
If anyone is willing to give me anything approaching a second and by anything approaching, I mean an actual second for Khalil Herbert, he's gone. And there's going to be that window when Montgomery leaves and they physically aren't allowed to sign anyone yet, or when we know that Montgomery's on his way out and Khalil Herbert's going to be the presumed starter. Just pounce on that and just spam your league for seconds. Clay's going to get that offer from me. I'm going to be offering Scott Khalil Herbert for seconds, and they're going to send back angry denials saying this is terrible. Why would you do this to me? But I'm just spamming the offer. I'm not even looking at the names, just sending it out.
Shooters got to shoot.
Exactly. I mean, it is interesting that Shane says that, because is that really going to be something that a lot of dynasty managers fall for this year? Because it's not just Khalil Herbert. There's going to be how many guys hit free agency? Devin Singletary leaves. Is James Cook's value going to go up 50%? Jerick McKinnon leaves. Is Isaiah Pacheco's value going to go up 50%? Every one of these situations where somebody's leaving, does the guy there just go up in value, or does at least the market get created to where you could sell that player now? Maybe not for a premium, but I can sell him because someone may buy the situation. Maybe not for anything more than what I think I could have gotten, but I can sell him. There's a market for him.
I'd say Herbert and definitely James Cook fall into that window. Herbert, people already liked a lot last year, and people liked him a lot this year. And quite frankly, he was more efficient than David Montgomery when he was on the field and actually able to play. He flashed. And James Cook, the narrative's going to be easy. If Devin Singletary's not there any longer, well, then there's just more work for James Cook, even though, yes, they will obviously add another back.
Isn't it interesting, though, that there's going to be names that you just mentioned, but then there's going to be other names that are literally identical, but people won't want them? Derrick Henry leaves. Will you want to buy Hassan Haskins?
No, but did you watch him play on the week Derrick Henry was out?
How about Deontay Foreman leaves? Would you want to buy Chuba Hubbard?
Love Chuba. No, that's disgusting.
Just saying there. What is the difference between Chuba Hubbard and, a lot of other guys? What's the difference between Chuba Hubbard and Khalil Herbert?
Nothing. You know what the difference is?
Bias. That's the difference.
Well,
That's it.
One's probably going to cost me a second and the other a third. So I'd rather fill up on those third round guys.
Yep. There you go. So guys, let's move over to Tony Pollard.
Who?
Tony Pollard. I've always loved Tony Pollard, man. Got tons of Tony Pollard on my teams. Are you going Pollard or the 201?
You know what? I think I could go with either side. I probably would go with the 201, but there is a world where not even could you get a better pick, could you get something a little more desirable than the 201? Right. A lot of people like Tony Pollard. If you have him, this is the time people have waited for. for years. And I think if I had to make a prediction, I think what's going to happen with Tony Pollard is he's going to sign somewhere and it's going to be like Houston or somewhere that already has a good running back. And it's like, we're going to use him like we used him in Dallas. And everyone's going to go, oh, why are we doing that? And it's like, that's probably, I mean, did you look? Tony Pollard was a top 10 running back this year. Doesn't matter if there's another guy there taking touches. That's what you want.
Yeah, I mean, he was the running back 6, and he was the running back 6 built off of efficiency scoring touchdowns. He had 12 touchdowns, so he bettered his career total than entering the year. Everything else is just par for the course, to be quite honest with you. Like, he had 50 more rushing attempts, a couple hundred more rushing yards, but really, like, the points that were built off of those touchdowns. He had the same amount of receptions this year as last. Receiving yards was pretty much the same. It's the touchdowns. So if you just look at that, is Tony Pollard likely to score 12 touchdowns again next year? The only way he does that, I would assume, is if he does sign somewhere like Miami and they give him 15 to 20 touches, which is possible. But all that said, I do prefer Pollard over the 201. And if I had the 201, Pollard's definitely a running back of that I would ship that off for.
Right. Would you go Tony Pollard or the 205 and a 24-second?
Yeah, it's another one of those dual deals where I think it just depends on you trying to predict the market on a guy like Pollard in the next 2 months. Is it going to get to a point where, are we at a point in Dynasty where anybody out there will be professing that you need to go buy these pending free agent running backs? Will that be there? If so, take the gamble, take Tony Pollard, and you have a window. I'm pretty sure once it gets to May, you're going to probably not be upset if you have those 2 seconds.
No, but you know what? Tony Pollard, if you are moving him, I kind of feel like he's something you need to add a pick to and go get yourself another player as opposed to these random seconds. I'd much rather see, can I add to Tony Pollard and get a wide receiver that I like? What do I need to add to Tony Pollard and get apparently wide receiver 14 on the season, Devonta Smith? But you know what I mean? Like, what can I add to Pollard to get another player?
Tony Pollard and the 204 or Devonta Smith?
Oh, Devonta Smith.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I like the idea with Shane trying to move it to a receiver and add another piece. That this is where if you have too many running backs, you can make deals like that to get back to your wide receiver number that you want to get to. So I like that. What I don't like is the idea of adding to Tony Pollard to try to get a better running back, because there's no guarantee you're getting a better running back. Like someone goes, I can go from Tony Pollard to Travis Etienne or Tony Pollard to, Ramondre Stevenson. It's like, you might not even be getting the better running back. So don't do that. Don't look at Tony Pollard as a way to get a better running back, because you can argue he could easily be a top 5 running back. Like it's all a coin flip at that range. So I definitely like the receiver pivot, though. That's smart.
Tony Pollard or a random 24 first?
24 first.
Yeah, you got to take those first.
We probably figured this out through this conversation, but Tony Pollard or David Montgomery?
Tony Pollard.
Pollard or Jacobs?
Pollard.
Okay.
You notice a theme here with all of those. It's all which one does the community like?
Yeah, the market likes Pollard better, even though I didn't look up Josh Jacobs, but it feels like Josh Jacobs had a better season. I got to look.
He had over 2,000 yards. So I mean,
that's not bad. It's not bad.
It's just funny though. Not once in this whole conversation have we talked about abilities or points score. You know what I mean? It's all about how does the market feel on the running back, and that's driving which ones I want, which ones I want to buy, which ones I want to sell, what I want to do. Like, it has nothing to do. We all acknowledge the skill set is like whatever opportunity they're given, what can they do with it? But there's no guarantee that they just earn opportunity because they're good players. It's not how it works.
I mean, but if we had to rank by skill set, I don't know if Pollard or Jacobs would be first, but I know David Montgomery wouldn't be first or second.
If you got to go skill set, you got to go Josh Jacobs, because he's literally like a historic bell cow. It's just, do we feel it can keep up for another year? Yeah, and that's the argument of why you'd take Tony Pollard, because I think the community is like, nah, there's no way Josh Jacobs can last at this volume for another year, because he's what is he constantly injured? Like you hear that until he's not.
Yeah, he's constantly injured, even though he never actually misses games. He's missed like 5 games in his career.
We'll make it pucker up down there when he's missing a series every game.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard or Miles Sanders?
Miles is he's at the bottom of this list.
He's at the bottom. Miles below Monty, huh?
Yes.
No.
I think the thing with Miles is like he's been in his best situation he's ever going to be in
this year.
Right. I'm saying you put David Montgomery on the Eagles, and it's probably that. Then you get a bell cow that could probably score 15 touchdowns. You put Josh Jacobs on the Eagles, like I think he's just better. I think they're all better than Miles Sanders.
Shane, what's Philly gonna do with Miles?
Nothing. He's gone. Bijan Robinson at 10. The mock drafts that I've seen, and then then I've seen the serious mock drafts where they've made fun of people that think the Eagles are drafting a running back at 10. There's no reason that I like Sanders, but there's absolutely no reason in the world to give him $10 million a year. You saw what Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott did on Saturday, Sunday, whatever night they played. They just ran all over the New York Giants. You stick a functional running back in there, like Scott said, basically, like if Josh Jacobs was back there, that we would have put up ridiculous numbers. You just need a functional guy back there, slightly average to above average. So there's no reason to pay for that. If maybe they draft a running back in the 3rd round.
Maybe not now, but are you buying any of the guys that we talked about tonight? We talked about Saquon, Scott, how you'd buy him if Jamal Williams were your best running back. Are you buying any of these guys?
To answer your question, probably in most cases, no, but that's not because I don't like them. It's just the market is saturated with them. You walk somewhere and there's 20 options of the same product to buy. Why would you buy it there when you know the place down the road is going to have the same thing? Like you kind of wait to the very end and you go, I can get one at any point. That's kind of how I feel with the running back class. Like there's going to be opportunities that you miss and you're going to look back and go, man, that was one of the ones that threaded the needle and got to a great spot. And they're looking like they're really, really going to have a big year. You wish you would have bought them back when everyone was panicking because they were free agents. But I think for the most part, like those types of deals are going to be available. Would you rather pay 80% of the price now, or would you rather wait till you have all the info and then pay 100% of the price in July or August? Or even further when the season starts and it's week 4 and everyone's going, oh man, sell high, sell high, sell high, sell high on Joe Mixon or Derrick Henry. There's no way they can survive another year. But they're putting up 19 points per game through the first 4 weeks next year.
Derrick Henry. Well, I don't know about Joe Mixon.
I'm just saying. I mean, Joe Mixon, 17.3 points per game this year.
I got you.
I'm just saying, can you get those guys? Do I know those types are going to be getting sold when that happens? And do I want to buy them now, or do I want to wait until week 5 next year when 40% of the people in leagues are trying to sell them because they don't think it can sustain, even though we've seen it sustain year after year after year? I mean, that's Josh Jacobs, right? That was Josh Jacobs this year. Why would it be any different next year? And why would we want to buy him in January?
I'm buying all these running backs. I'm buying all old running backs. I'm buying running backs of every shape, size, color. Any running back you can find, I'm getting this year. If I can get a couple running backs for 2nd rounders as opposed to spending a 1st rounder on them, I'm doing it. Barkley is probably, like I said, a little outside of where I'm shopping. I would like to shop in the David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, Leonard Fournette, Devin Singletary bin. I know we didn't really touch on those guys. I definitely want the slightly used or to
gently used, refurbed.
Or refurbed. It's fine. I will not be buying something like Saquon, which is, closer to like you go on the blacklist and you're like, I don't understand why the Google Pixel 6 is still $600. The phone is 3 years old. That doesn't make any sense to me. And that's how Saquon feels.